Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I am Pokemon Trainer Evan. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And if you've watched this video before, I really, really thank you for coming in again. So, if you haven't seen my previous video of ranking the starter Pokemon, um, frankly, the video, all the audio is there. The video is lagging behind, and it drives me insane. It's the first time really using OBS Studios, and I felt myself constantly just trying to make sure when I was doing the video to rush through some points in order to make the best video possible with the constraints I had it on. Now, with toying with it, I think it's going to be a lot better. So, with that being said, I'm going to retry this starter rankings, and I'm going to actually put it in two parts. The reason I'm doing that is so I can give a little bit more detail behind what I'm doing, and then you can really see some more of the thought process. And then that way, each Pokemon and each point, unless I really feel it needs to be short, has a reason for it. So, with that being said, same parameters as before. If you haven't seen that video, it was number one, I'm looking at design or appearance. That's the first thing you look at when you see a Pokemon is how does it look, and that's the original appeal. Two, I'm looking at the evolutionary line. Now you can see below, as I'm doing this that there's a lot of evolutionary starters going all the way through to their finals. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to be evaluating the line to a degree in my rankings. And three is just specialty notes, personal preferences, things of that nature. But with that being said, here we are, and we are going right away to Gen 1 and Bulbasaur. So, just like I said, Bulbasaur is an A. All right. I love Bulbasaur. I think Bulbasaur actually really captures the essence of what a Pokemon is. Is it a frog? Is it a toad? Is it a dinosaur? It's just a Pokemon. The bulb on its back is a great hint at it and at what it will be, but it doesn't hit you over the head with grass too broadly, but it clearly shows you that it's plant-based, which I think is phenomenal. So I really enjoy that about Bulbasaur. And I just love these little speckles as you're going through my cursor. I love these speckles to it. And the color contrast. I love the light and green, light and dark greens, and I love the red eyes. It gives it a little bit more of an appearance. And what a fun, loving appearance. Bulbasaur is 1,000% an A for me. I love Bulbasaur, and I wouldn't be shocked that I've been thinking about this a lot. I'll probably move Bulbasaur up, but I'm not entirely sure. And the evolutionary line is great. I really like the story told through the evolutionary line. So if you follow my cursor down, I love this patch of the bulb opening to Ivysaur, and Ivysaur gets to have a little bit more of a menacing look to it. Not too bad, but just a little bit more to show you there's some power there, and the bulb on the back is flourishing. I love that growth, and I love how it gets to this big, monstrous bloom with Venusaur. I think that's phenomenal. So that's why I have Bulbasaur as an A. Going to Charmander. Charmander is a B. I think Charmander's design is simplistic in a way that isn't as endearing to me personally as Bulbasaur. Charmander, I think is perfect for kids because it worked for me as a kid. I wanted a Charmander because I wanted a Charizard without question. This, on the other hand, as an adult, I see a little bit more simplicity. I do like the little blue eye hint here. I think that's great. And I like the overall vibe of Charmander. I just think it's how do you make it fire? Well, give it a fiery tail. And again, I think I am a little fatigued to Charizard, even though, oddly enough, I think I'm becoming more. I find Charizard more endearing right now. I think it's probably because of the Pokemon pack pulls that I'm doing. I seem to constantly, every couple months, find a good Charizard pull that a lot of people would like, which helps. And my history of Pokemon cards actually says Charizard's one of my boys. But I do like Charmeleon. And it's growing on me. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've never been a huge Charmeleon fan. It's growing, but I'm fine. Again, Charizard, not super crazy about. But we're going to have Charmander at a B. Then Squirtle. I'm going to try to speed it up just a hair for you guys. Squirtle is again in A. I adore Squirtle. I do love the color contrast. I think that's great. I love the little snickering smile. And I love just how many colors are actually packed into this for a Gen 1 Pokemon. With the brown, with the white, with the sandy yellow, with the light blues, with the dark blues, and just that hint of that pink in that eye. It's great. And what an inviting little guy. And automatically hits you with water without clearly having to show it. And then I think the most unique of the three Gen 1 starters or traditional Gen 1 starters, I think might have to be Blastoise with the cannons coming out. I love that, and I think that's a great evolutionary line. And I think Wartortle, I never liked Wartortle growing up, and now I'm really coming to love Wartortle. So I have Squirtle at an A. I just prefer Bulbasaur to Squirtle, which is why I have Bulbasaur ranked higher. But I love Squirtle. It's great. And to continue Gen 1, I'm going to scroll down here and get you a Pikachu. No, Pikachu is not a D. I'm just putting it up there so I can scroll. Pikachu is an S. Pikachu is a near perfect design. If you want an even better opinion on why Pikachu is an S, I highly, highly recommend the YouTube channel Subjectively. It is one of my favorite channels. They create their own Pokemon. It inspired me to kind of do the same to a degree. I was already working on one, but it really got my juices going. They have ranked all the Gen 1 Pokemon, and I think it's phenomenal they did that. Or gave ideas to everything about it. It's just Pikachu's near perfection. What a rounded, soft, inviting appearance with energy with Pikachu. And the little red cheeks, it shows this childish wonder. And you immediately associate it with childlike figures throughout all of media before. And then that zigzag tail, just to give that contrast, is beautiful. And yellow and red makes it so distinctive. Beautiful color scheme, everything about it is great. Yeah, Raichu, not the greatest. Alolan Raichu, chef's kiss. And then when you can add Pichu into the vibe as well. I am a Pichu fan. I know not everyone is. I am. Pikachu is near perfection. It is, without question, one of the most recognizable fictional characters on the entire planet now. I mean, we're talking to the level of Batman, Superman. We're talking to Darth Vader territory. Like, that's how recognizable Pikachu is. To be in that category, to be in that milieu, shows how distinct Pikachu is, and you can't help but say it's near perfection or perfect. So Pikachu's an S. And Eevee, same thing, S. Not as recognizable as Pikachu. No Pokemon is, except Charizard's probably the only one that could give it a go. But the evolutionary line is obviously what takes Eevee over the top. Obviously, Espeon, Umbreon, they're great. All three Gen 1s are great. I personally love Vaporeon. Leafeon, Glaceon, I think are great additions. And Sylveon by far is the best in my opinion. I adore Sylveon. Sylveon, quickly, the second I saw it, became one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Love it. And this paint, I mentioned this in the first video. The painter's tail here with the paintbrush look is perfect at hinting of possibility and what can happen. I love that design choice. Eevee is so inviting from an appearance standpoint. With just the fluffy fur, it gets this cute mammalian thing down where, is it a fox? Is it a cat? Is it a dog? You don't know, but you love it. That's great for Eevee. And I just love that about Eevee. Eevee is an S. And I think when they went to the Let's Go games, I think it was phenomenal to use Eevee as opposed to one of the three Gen 1 starters opposing Pikachu, because then it immediately would feel lesser. Whereas with Eevee, it felt new and exciting and different to get an Eevee because Eevee had such a rise in popularity. I feel like when Gen 1 first came out, everyone I knew liked Eevee, but no one was like in love with Eevee. And now introducing new people to the game almost on a daily basis with all the kids I work with, Eevee is immediately one of everybody's favorites, which I think is phenomenal. So what a glow up for Eevee, and that's why Eevee is an S. Eevee is a great Pokemon. Going on to Gen 2, um, Gen 2, Chikorita. Chikorita is an A for me. I love Chikorita. Um, Chikorita is so underrated. I think it's great storytelling, much like Bulbasaur, to have this little sapling, little seedling, go from here all the way, if you're following my cursor down to, you know, down to Bayleaf and Meganium. I think that's absolutely wonderful storytelling where it goes from this little seedling to it's a full grown plant, but it's still learning its way to the full bloom of Meganium. And I think Meganium is such a wonderful, inviting Pokemon. Meganium is a Pokemon that has the vibe that if you were a family in the Pokemon world, you would have a Meganium to watch your kids because it just has that wonderful, inviting, caring presence. I think that's another reason why I personally always go towards Meganium because it just feels like a caregiver. I'm always feeling somewhat like a caregiver due to my job or due to other things in my life. And I think that's great if you match that. So, yes, I do have a bias towards Meganium. Um, Especially if you heard in my first video, Pokemon Crystal is one of my favorite games of all time. My starter was Chikorita. I played all three Gen 2 games, so big fan. But God, Crystal, Chikorita, I took my Meganium all the way to the end. And I adore Meganium, and that's another reason why I love Chikorita. But Chikorita by itself is great. So, and I don't understand why people don't like it. It is simplistic. I understand that. But for me personally, I think it's just an inviting simplistic, not a problematic simplistic. Cyndaquil. Going on to Cyndaquil. I'm going to go, again, Cyndaquil is an A. Cyndaquil, I love. I mentioned this before. Such an inviting, soft, fun appearance. The eye, just the slit eye is great. It's great design choices. And that little hooked nose, very fun little touches. And then the explosion back is genius. And it's a great lead off to Quilava again. I think Typhlosion's the worst of the three. I like Typhlosion, but I think it almost goes downward where like Quilava gets this like it split the explosion into two, and you get more of that like I'm a teen and I'm a punk vibe from Quilava, but not hit you over the head with it, which I really, really adore. And I think it's just great use of our fire Pokemon to have that explosion back and the contrast between that very smoky blue to that great yellow and orange / red, I guess, in little pieces. Vibe, tremendous. Love Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil's an A. And Totodile, if you didn't watch my past video, this is one that usually shocks people. Totodile to me is an S. I think Totodile is great. I will get this with another Pokemon further down. But I've talked about character design a few times. If you can get the spirit of a character or get the spirit of a Pokemon immediately, just by one drawing, you have succeeded beyond all measures. Totodile has that. Totodile is just a fun, derpy little alligator or crocodile. Whatever one you want to say. I adore that as Totodile. It's just, I don't know if you guys have seen them online. I love videos with llamas or animals of any kind where it's just like there's not a thought behind those eyes. There is not a thought behind that eye of Totodile except chomp, chomp, chomp. And I adore that. And it's got a fun vibe, not an intimidating vibe, a fun vibe. One that, as a kid, you'd be like, I want that chompy thing. Which is amazing. It's great character work. And I do like the color scheme. It hits the water vibe, again, without having to say, it shoots water or does something like that. That's great. The only reason I consider maybe bringing Totodile down would be Froligator. Froligator's not bad. It just doesn't go anywhere, really. It just becomes this gangly alligator versus like Totodile is this cute, wonderful little baby. And then Croconaw, I think, is phenomenal. Croconaw is such an underrated design. But Froligator kind of doesn't go many places, which is why I could see Totodile going lower for others. I just think of all of these Pokemon, outside of Pikachu, only because, but I think that's unfair because of how much exposure we have to Pikachu, of just the design, just the drawing, just the original posting, I think Totodile actually has better character energy than Pikachu, which is crazy to say. And I have to put Totodile up that high. I love Totodile. But just think of that. Gens 1 and 2, in my opinion, but I think a lot of people would share high opinions. 3 S's, 4 A's, 1 B. That is insane at the quality of the design for starters. Insane. What a great start to a franchise. I absolutely adore that. Now, moving on, we're going to go to Gen 3. Gen 3, I might surprise a few people with some of mine, but that's the fun of the internet and the opinions. And I'd love to hear it in the comment section if you guys want to go. So I have Trico at an A. I like Trico. I think I'll put Trico here. I don't like Trico as much as the other starters. Gen 3 admittedly is where I fell off as a kid. I've come back to it as an adult. I do enjoy it, and I love the Pokemon Adventures arc through the manga. In Gen 3, I think Ruby and Sapphire, I was shocked at how much I liked it. Here is one of the biggest things why I would... Ooh, okay, I just put A. Now I got to rethink this because of how unique this is. I'm actually going to move that from an A to an S. Here's why. Trico by itself is great, and it has a wonderful evolutionary line all the way to Sceptile. Sceptile is just cool. But Trico is just cool, which is amazing. But here's why I think it's so cool beyond just it has a cool vibe. Outside of the obvious appearances, the lime green, which is different, the red, which is different for grass type, just the lizard vibe, the suggestion of grass type without real, like, oh god, it's grass type or it's a plant of some kind, is this. Hoenn is a tropical setting that has a different vibe from the first 2 games. It immediately tells you something different. The first Pokemon of the region is Trico, and it has that vibe. Trico brings the vibe of Hoenn out more so than almost any other Pokemon across the entire franchise. Trico sets the tone for a region, which is awesome when you really think about it. When you're trying to say, what is my region about? What am I designing about? Trico giving you this beautiful, lush, tropical setting with these varied landscapes. Trico has that, which is so cool. And that's why when I was thinking like, oh, A, no, Trico is an S. I don't personally like Trico as much as I like these 3. But at the same time, like I'm not a huge Pikachu fan, but you can't argue Pikachu's rankings. But Trico just has a different vibe that is so special and unique that I had to move him up to an S. Trico's great. And I know it's going to be crazy. Someone in the comment section, probably my best friend, is going to say, oh, your rankings are different from video 1 to video 2. I get it. I understand it. But I want to redo this and have some real fun with it. Going to Torchic. Torchic to me is a B. I like Torchic, but it's a small chicken. That's cute. That's it. I don't get fire suggestions. Like, at least with Charmander, even though it's hit it on the head, there's fire on the tail and a suggestion of where it can go. Like, yes, it's orange and yellow, but that's it. But it's adorable, which is why it's a B. And I'm not a Blaziken guy. I think Combusken is actually kind of fun and underrated, but not a tremendous Pokemon. Blaziken, I get why it's popular. To a degree. I don't fully understand, but to a degree I get. It's just not my vibe. Fighting Pokemon are either like phenomenal for me or they're down low. It's just, they're very hit or miss. To me personally, constantly, I don't even think it's the best fire starter to go into fighting type. I'd say that's probably Infernape, but Blaziken is cool for a lot of people. It's just I'm not crazy about the back tail head and stuff like that. So That's why I got Torchic at B. It's still a fun, adorable Pokemon, but it's just not my vibe, and that's okay. Here we're gonna come back with Mudkip. I'm just looking at my notes quick. I got Mudkip at a B as well. It's mostly because of Marshtomp that it comes down. Mudkip is adorable, and what a great, unique usage of a basis for a Pokemon. An axolotl, but what a great, unique way to show an axolotl. Very, very fun. Very, very cool. I love that from Mudkip. What a great inspiration. And I love the orange here. You know, there's these great, if you look at these three water starters, there's great contrasting colors. And I really, really enjoy that. But Mudkip, just with those orange cheeks, is adorable. And then to go to Swampert, that takes this very beastly form off of this cute little guy, is a great story again. I love that for the evolutionary line. It's just Marshtomp I have problems with. It's not my favorite. So that's the only reason I'd put Mudkip at a B. If there was a better second evolution and I like Swampert just a hair more, it might be higher, but to me, Mudkip is a B. I really like Mudkip though, so I think that's okay and fair. Now moving on to Gen 4. This is where things are going to take a downturn for some people. Turtwig to me is a C. Turtwig, unlike the bloom idea or the sapling idea for the other grass starters, the evolutionary line and the design kind of goes very few places for me. I get it. It's the seedling, but then it's just small trees or bushes to big tree. And then the shape doesn't change much. The appearance, it just varies into, okay, now it's this shade of green, that shade of green. I don't hate Torterra. I don't even hate Grotle. I think they're fun Pokemon. Gen 4 is not my favorite. I don't connect with it a lot. My greatest exposure to Gen 4 actually is in Pokemon Arceus. But I enjoyed going through Ancient Sinnoh or Hisui, I guess. It's just Turtwig doesn't do much for me. And it's just kind of there for me. I have no beef with Turtwig. It is cute and a fun name, which does help a lot. And Torterra is really cool, but I just think it's kind of middle of the road starter, and that's why I'd have it as a C. Meanwhile, Chimchar, I have Chimchar actually at an A, and this comes up to the Infernape principle. But I think Monferno is actually very underrated as well. I love that they have the flame here, which I know I ragged on for Charmander, so hear me out. I love that the flame tail is there, but then there's the other suggestions of fire through the little hairpiece. I love that. Beyond that, I said this in the first rendition of the video, and I think it bears repeating. There is a mischievous quality to fire, and I think it's perfectly hit with a monkey as a basis. I think that's genius usage of it. You know, Charmander is great because it gets towards that fire-breathing dragon vibe, but it doesn't go in a very unique way. Where the monkey has the characteristics of mischief with the Chimchar design, and then going towards Infernape, using fire as a basis to it is so cool and so smart to me. So I really like that. And I just think the design and this monkey starter is super cool. So I think Chimchar is an A for me. And Piplup, I have Piplup at a B. I like Piplup more than I like Torchic. In fact, I just don't like it more than Mudkip. But I might like the evolutionary line a little bit different. But again, I think the same problem with Turtwig exists with Piplup. The evolutionary line doesn't go many places. The shape stays relatively the same once you get to the other two. The only thing that changes is the head fins. I think Empoleon has a very cool design with the trident nose and beak. And the color scheme is pretty cool. It just, for me, I think it's cool, but not as cool as some of the others. And that's where it is. Again, I like the line. I think Piplup is adorable. But I said this again in my first rendition of this video, and I think it's worth repeating. What about Piplup really suggests water type outside of the fact that it's blue? Because penguins, I think, are naturally associated with ice, not water, or cold, not water. Inherently, like everyone knows they're around water, but it's more ice, snow, and the cold versus water. And I think that's where the problem is, where all three of the other starter Pokemon are based off of something that have water, so they can get away with a less over the top water design and just use the color scheme. Where I don't know if Piplup works for that. Again, it's still a great line. I enjoy it, but it's not as unique or different of a take as some of the other Pokemon that I've seen, or I just don't personally like it as much. But that's going to do it for this side of the video. I'm going to go into Gens 5 through 9 in my next rendition of the video. I will keep this up just as much as this. I just think these 4 generations, especially because Gen 1 has 5 starters, deserve their own video. So I'm going to go Gens 1 through 4 in this video, Gens 5 through 9 in a part 2, which I hope you certainly stick around and look for. And again, if you really want to make your own, I will put this link that I'm using in Tiermaker to make your own tier list. I'd love for you guys to screen cap that and throw it in the comments section. I love doing these kinds of things and interacting with people on rankings. It's really fun for me personally. So I hope you do it yourselves. And again, like, subscribe, comment as much as you possibly can. It helps the YouTube algorithm a lot. If you catch this at any other place, please throw me the like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. But in the meantime and in between time, I will catch you on the flip side. Thank you again so much. I'll see you next time. Peace.